The Composable DataOps Platform is a modern, full-stack data operations and integrated development environment for developing data-intensive applications. This video will provide an introduction to interactive data exploration in Composable using QueryViews. To get started, let's log into Composable and look at an example query view. We can search for and open up an existing query view on the search page. Composable QueryViews provide a modern approach for running interactive, distributed SQL queries to create web-based live grids of data suitable for just-in-time, interactive analytics. QueryViews have the capability to query data from both relational databases and non-traditional NoSQL data stores without the need to move the data to a new data store. As we will see, QueryViews are great at querying even massive amounts of data. Given the built-in paging, you can query millions of rows of data and quickly retrieve and page through the results. You can further provide added functionality, such as action buttons that trigger data flows or add custom fields with links. Finally, a powerful feature of QueryViews is the ability to nest multiple queries together. These child query views can access a completely different data store from the top-level parent query, while referencing the values from the parent query view. In this way, powerful distributed queries against multiple data stores can be achieved. In this video, we will begin with a new query view and demonstrate the first few steps to building out a query view with some of these features. Let's start by creating a new query view. We can do that by going to the side navigation bar and clicking on the Query View Create New link. Creating a new query view will initially bring you to the Query View Edit mode, which includes a set of configuration menu items on the left, the Query Template window where you will type in your SQL query, and a sample output window. A query view has two modes, Edit mode, which we are in now, and where you can edit the configuration, settings, and query, and View mode, which allows you to view the results. You can toggle between these modes using the Execute button and corresponding Edit button that will be enabled on the top right. A query view requires, at a minimum, a key to access your data store and a query. It is useful to work your way down the configuration menu. Let's start on the Info panel, where we will provide a name for the query view. This is where we can also categorize the query view with folders and tags once the query view is saved, as well as adjust various options such as the order and paging type. Next, we will specify the connection setting to our data store. In this case, I already have a database connection setting stored in the Composable Key Vault, so I can simply choose it. I can also add an optional timeout parameter, which may be needed for long-running queries. The database I'm connecting to contains data of network flow events collected over time from central routers within a corporate internal computer network. For now, let's just write a simple select query to select all columns and all records. We can enter it in the Query Template window. Notice that as I type, Composable provides me with autocomplete guides to assist me as I write my query. I am selecting all data in the Network Flow Events table. Note that Composable is generating syntactically correct SQL query on the right output area. For this simple query, this will just be a duplicate of our templated query, along with some pre-configured order and paging info, which is defined in the Info panel. As we create more advanced templated queries, this output window will display the final query automatically and will also let me know if the query is syntactically correct. Let's click on Save to save our query view, and then click on the Execute button to enter the View mode of the query view. Composable is querying the dataset and will display it in a nicely formatted web-based grid. The network flow dataset is fairly massive. It includes almost 130 million rows. Even with such a large database, Composable is able to pull and display this data quickly and provides capabilities to page through the data and sort and rearrange columns. While in the View mode, I can use this Query button on top to view the query. I can also click the Export button to export the full results of the query, not just the current page. The Options panel gives me the option to export the data as a CSV or Excel file. If I only want to export a subset of the result columns, I can exclude a column from being exported by using Control and click on the column name in the results header. An X icon will appear next to the column name to indicate the column will not be included in the export. I can Control and click again on the column name to include the column back in the exported file. Let's head back to the Edit mode and start adding some additional functionality to the query view. To toggle back to Edit mode, we simply click on Edit in the top right. The first thing we can do is to start parametrizing our query with a set of filters. We can do so by going to the Inputs panel in the Configuration menu, where we are given the option to add either a new literal or new filter. There's some quick help provided on top to remind you what each of these are and how to use them. Briefly, literals allows you to essentially replace the parameter with a specific value, whereas filters are what you would normally use in a where clause. Let's go ahead and add a new filter. In this modal, we can define a new filter on the source computer column. I'll set display name, which will appear in the view mode to source computer, and for template name, which we will use in the query, let's just use source. The data type will be string. I won't set a default value, and we'll skip over some of these other options. The position option lets me choose how these filters will be displayed in the view mode. If I set it to vertical, the inputs will appear as a side panel on the left of the results grid. The column needs to be set to the column name, source computer. And for matching, we will use the like operator. We can now save this new filter, and it will appear in the inputs table here, where we have a quick reference to the various attributes we just configured. We can now use this template name in our query template. Before we do that, let's change the paging type to none, so we lose these additional clauses so we can better see how templates are added. We can change the paging type in the info panel and revalidate the query. We will now add a where statement here, and just place the template variable into the query. We can look at the output text area to see the replacement happening on the fly. Let's click the validation checkbox in the top right corner to ensure that the query syntax is correct. In this case, we're actually being told that it is not correct, and given a clear error message below alerting us that there is an extra and in our clause. That's because the template adds an and for each parameter to allow us to chain together multiple parameters. So let me add 1 equals 1, which is always true, and this will make the syntax correct. I'll add a top 50 clause here so that we're just pulling 50 records so we can more easily toggle between the view and edit mode as we're modifying our query. Let's toggle back to the view mode. You can now see that our inputs are showing up on the left-hand side of our screen. The filter is blank by default, as expected, and we can enter text in and refresh the query. With that, we covered how to create query views and use parametrized SQL queries to generate dynamic web views of the results. SQL is one of the most powerful tools for analyzing data, and QueryViews provides a modern, web-based approach for powerful distributed SQL queries against multiple data stores. Please view our additional videos and review the Composable documentation and tutorials pages to learn how to further enhance and add functionality to your query views. Thanks for watching.